I used to work the closing shift at a small municipal library in the north end of town. It wasn't one of those grand marble places you see in photos, just a narrow brick building squeezed between a pharmacy and a defunct tailor shop. 2 floors, no cameras, and a smell that clung to your clothes like dust and paper glue. Most people didn't realize half the building was sealed off. Years ago, part of the upper level had been closed after a ceiling collapse. They walled it up and shifted the shelves, leaving behind a narrow corridor that ended abruptly in painted plaster. The director called it the retired section. I called it the part that still listens. On a Thursday in late November, I was staying late to finalize the annual inventory. The heating system was off for repairs, so the building had that strange cold, not biting, but steady, like the air inside a refrigerator that hasn't been opened in weeks. Around 9:15, while logging the reference books upstairs, I heard something fall. Not a thud exactly, a soft, flat drop, as if a single sheet of paper had slid from a table. When I turned toward the aisle, a single volume was lying open on the floor. Catalog, 1987. It wasn't one of ours to lend. These were internal records, the kind that shouldn't even be on the shelf. I picked it up. The binding was brittle, the pages yellowed. Near the back, one card was tucked between the sheets, an old borrower's slip. Name, K. Resnick. Checked out, June 12, 1994. Returned, blank. The book attached to that slip, Philosophical Essays, Volume 3, was listed as part of the restricted archive. The archive didn't exist anymore. It was behind the wall. Curiosity isn't dangerous until it's quiet. That's something I've learned too late. I traced the shelving until I reached the plaster barrier, ran my hand along the painted surface, and heard a hollow sound beneath. Someone had nailed a thin sheet over an old doorway. The edges were uneven, and when I pressed my thumb to one side, I felt cold air breathing through.
Downstairs, the janitor's closet had tools. I pried out 2 nails, just enough to see. Behind the plaster was an unlit room, smaller than I expected. My phone's flashlight barely reached the far wall. Rows of filing cabinets lined the space, and on a small desk in the dust sat a single open ledger. When I stepped in, the air changed, thicker, heavier, the kind of silence that feels aware of you. The book was handwritten, page after page of cramped notes. Each entry began with a date, followed by a sentence. She asked for her record again. Shelves remember differently at night. Do not let them reshelve me. The handwriting deteriorated as the pages went on. Sharper lines, deeper ink cuts. The last entry read, "If you find this, put it back where it belongs." I set the ledger down, and that's when I noticed the smell. Not mildew, not paper, but something faintly sweet, like perfume lingering in fabric. I turned toward the opening I'd made. The corridor beyond looked different, dimmer, the air thicker with dust that hadn't been there before. There was a sound behind me, the soft slap of paper hitting the floor. When I looked down, the ledger had closed itself. A catalog card was stuck out from the middle, with my name written neatly in ink. Under returned, the date matched tonight. I didn't remember writing it. And when I turned the flashlight back toward the hole in the wall, it was gone. Just solid plaster again, smooth and cold. Now, every time I pass that section on the upstairs floor, the wall feels warmer, as if someone on the other side is still sorting the shelves. Sometimes I swear I hear pages turning, the dry whisper of something cataloging me back. If this story made you look twice at your local library, hit like before the lights go out, and subscribe for more real stories that whisper when the world goes quiet. Comment below, would you have gone inside the catalog room?
When I was 15, the county shut down River Pines Amusement Park. It had been closed for over a decade, fenced off with rusted wire and do not enter signs that everyone ignored. My brother and I used to bike there after school, just to stare through the gaps at the empty rides, their colors sun-bleached, paint flaking like old skin. Last summer, I went back alone. I don't know why. Maybe nostalgia, maybe stupidity. The place looked smaller, quieter. The carousel stood at the center, horses mid-gallop, frozen, their eyes dulled by time. The air smelled of oil and rain-soaked wood. I climbed the fence and started walking the cracked asphalt path. Every sound was magnified, the crunch of gravel, the faint echo of my own breath under the canopy of vines. Somewhere deeper inside, something ticked, like an engine straining to start. It was the carousel. The horses were moving, slowly. The entire platform rotated with an uneven groan. No music, no power lines humming, just motion, steady and mechanical. I froze, listening. There was no wind, no sound from anywhere else in the park. At first I thought someone else must be there. A caretaker maybe, or other trespassers. But when I looked around, every booth, every stand was empty. The carousel turned half a rotation and stopped. The horse nearest me facing forward, its cracked teeth catching the light. I noticed something carved into its flank. Not graffiti, names. Dozens of them. Scratched deep. Some dates beside them, all within the past 2 years. And one name I recognized. My brother's.
He'd gone missing in 2019. They said he'd run away. I touched the carved letters. The wood was warm, faintly vibrating as if something inside the horse was moving. I stepped back, heart pounding, and the carousel started again, this time faster. I heard faint music, the kind that doesn't come from speakers but from inside your own ears. The melody felt familiar, like something I'd heard once in a dream. Then, just for a second, I saw movement between the horses, silhouettes riding in slow circles, their heads bowed. The rhythm of the turning slowed, and one of the riders looked up. It wasn't a person. It was a hollow shape, like clothes filled with fog, yet its head tilted exactly the way my brother used to when he laughed. I ran. I didn't look back until I was halfway across the field, where the fence cut into my palms as I climbed. The music stopped, the air went still, and behind me, one last creak of the carousel as it turned a fraction more. The same horse facing me again, but the carved name was gone. When I checked later online, I found an old photo from the park's final year. The same carousel, the same horses. Only then I noticed none of them ever had names carved into their sides. Not a single mark. If you ever pass an abandoned place that still moves on its own, don't stay to figure out why. If this story unsettled you, hit like and subscribe. There's another one coming tonight.
There's a stretch of highway that cuts through the western range. A narrow ribbon of asphalt carved between mountains older than memory. Locals call it Route 6B, but truckers call it the Breathing Road. I never understood why until last winter. I drive cargo shipments for a construction firm, mostly tools, machinery, nothing exciting. One night, I was headed through the range when the snow hit earlier than expected. My GPS lost signal and every radio station dissolved into static. I pulled over near the only landmark in miles, an old maintenance tunnel that cut directly under the ridge. The sign said closed for repairs, but there were fresh tire tracks in the snow leading inside. I hesitated, then decided to follow. The tunnel was long, concrete walls lined with dull yellow lights that flickered unevenly. The sound of my tires echoed endlessly, bouncing off the walls like whispers chasing themselves. Halfway through, the air changed. Warmer somehow, thick with humidity. My windshield fogged from the inside. That's when I heard it. A slow, rhythmic sound beneath the hum of the engine. Inhale, exhale. At first I thought it was the wind or maybe the ventilation system. But every few seconds, the tunnel seemed to shift. The concrete walls pulsed faintly, like they were expanding and contracting. The sound wasn't an echo. It was breathing. I stopped the truck, killed the engine. The silence that followed wasn't real silence. It was dense, physical, pressing in from all sides. I opened the door to step out, and my boot sunk slightly into the pavement. Not enough to notice at first. Just soft, pliable, like walking on flesh under concrete. The light nearest me went out, then another. The darkness started moving closer, bulb by bulb, like a ripple. I climbed back into the truck and tried to start it, but the ignition clicked uselessly. The headlights flickered once before dying completely. And then I heard the breathing again. Slower now, heavier. This time, it came from both directions of the tunnel at once, as if something enormous surrounded me on all sides. My radio crackled to life. Through the static, a voice whispered, "Don't stop where the road curves." I froze, staring at the dial. The voice repeated, quieter, "Keep driving. It's not asleep yet." I don't remember turning the key, but suddenly the truck roared back to life. I floored it. The tunnel stretched longer than it should have, the same section repeating, the same cracked tile on the wall flashing past again and again. It felt like driving inside a throat that didn't want to let me out. Finally, the end appeared, a pinprick of gray daylight.
The moment I hit it, everything went silent. The air snapped back to cold, dry mountain wind. I pulled over on the other side, shaking. The tunnel behind me looked perfectly still, empty, not even a sound of echoing tires. The police later said that stretch of Route 6B had been closed for 12 years after a collapse killed a repair crew. Their truck, same model as mine, was still sealed somewhere in the rubble, never recovered. That night, when I washed the truck, I noticed something. Fine gray dust coating the wheels, like powdered concrete mixed with ash. And when I touched it, it was warm. I tried to forget it, but sometimes when I'm hauling late at night, I pass an overpass vent where the wind tunnels through the stone. It carries a sound that shouldn't be there. Deep, steady, faintly human. And if I turn down the radio completely, I can hear my name breathed softly from somewhere beneath the road. If this story made you look twice at tunnels on your next trip, hit like before the signal fades, and subscribe for more true stories buried under the road. Comment below. Would you have driven through it?